listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. And we believe that power talks, and so we are here with you this morning, and we want to say good morning. It is Wednesday. We're in the middle of the week already. Good morning, Melody. How are you?
Good morning. I'm just fantastic. They call that hump day, don't they?
They do call that hump day.
Hump day? Mm-hmm. Today's hump day?
We used to have the camel, you know. The camel was the big thing, you know. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
So being in the middle of the week is great, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are. We're in the middle of the week, and another one bites the dust. Mark Lauer, he got fired from NBC's News. He was the leading host on the Today Show, and another one bites the dust, and I don't know where it's going to end. It just keeps going and going. We got a lot. Remember the song Peyton Place?
Yes.
Or no, Harper Valley's PTA. You know, Is that not what we've got going on? Of course, we know that these liberals, and I don't like putting it that way, but these ones that are pointing their fingers at everybody else have how many pointing back at them? And here they were the ones that went after Donald Trump for something he was caught on a audio or video saying years ago. I think it was 11 or 12 years ago. And they won't let that go because he's a sexist because of that, even though he's hired more women in prominent positions than probably any of them. So while they're going after him for what he did, and they're going after Roy Moore for something done 38, 40 years ago, they're chasing women around the desk.
Like,
showing up to meetings naked in their underwear.
Like this is a new thing, you know.
Oh my gosh. But the deceit and the arrogance and the hypocrisy and the Democrat Party is just absolutely full of it. This how do you say his name? Kanye, what's his name? The guy I thought he was going to quit, but apparently he's not going to quit. He showed up to a meeting in his underwear.
Conyers.
Conyers, thank you. I couldn't think of his name, and it's piled up here in my piles of paper. But they think nothing about using tax dollars. That's your money, my money, all the money of our listeners, to cover up their sins, so to speak. Pelosi and Schumer can't show up to a meeting with the president because they don't like him. Something he tweeted was offensive. And I'm thinking, well, maybe they need to get off Twitter. They keep telling him to get off Twitter. Maybe they're the ones that need to get off Twitter if they can't take it. And bullies can't. If you remember, when you were growing up, a bully can dish it out, but he cannot take it. And that is exactly what we're seeing. These bullies cannot take it. I have something very funny that I want to share. And it was CNN is going to boycott the White House Christmas party. And they asked Sarah Huckabee. She said Christmas is coming early. Finally, CNN is doing something good. I can't find my stories. I pile them all up, and then I bring them in here, and they get lost. I don't know what's wrong with me. But North Korea shot, here it is. Here it is. I want to get her quote right because I think she's so comical. She's so dry, you know, when she makes comments back to them.
Just like her father.
Oh, yeah. CNN will not be attending this year's White House Christmas party in light of President's continued attacks on freedom of the press. Did you know he's attacking freedom of the press and CNN? We do not feel it is appropriate to celebrate with him as his invited guests. We will send a White House reporting team to the event and report on it if news warrants. Well, we know what kind of news they warrant. And Sarah Huckabee, she got a big laugh at it and said, Christmas comes early, finally. Good news from CNN. So I had it wrong when I quoted it, but
close enough.
And of course, North Korea decided to flex a few muscles yesterday morning as they shot off another missile, going a little higher, a little farther, doing a little bit more than the last one. And, of course, while that's happening, and this is huge news because I imagine we're actually going to do something this time. Don't know how, don't know what. But so while that's going on, we have Pelosi and Schumer throwing their little fits and threatening to shut the government down. And you know what I say about that? Shut it down. Just shut it down. What do you think, Melody?
Well, the parts that they shut down are, positions that really don't meet. They'll shut the park services down. They'll shut down. They'll pick and choose, what departments get shut down. The people still get their wages when they come back to work.
Yeah,
so it really
doesn't
mean anything. And the thing of it is, let's do it right before Christmas. That way they can go out and maybe shop more, buy more, and, put more on their credit cards and go deeper and deeper into debt. I mean, we talked the other day about how people are still paying off their credit cards from a year ago. So, I mean, it's I'm getting a little tired of this childishness that's really being, and that's how I see it. And you're right. You say, you're absolutely correct. You say bullies. Bullies are in high school. Let's grow up. They talk about Trump not acting like a president. Well, it's everybody.
Well, are they acting?
What is going on? Stop it.
Are they acting like a senator when they show up in their underwear to a meeting?
Absolutely not. I mean, this is all my, it's everybody. Everybody's got to start acting like.
Well,
it's.
I want to send them to their
anymore.
room. Send them to their room and don't let them come out until they change their attitude.
And these are the people that are in charge of our country? Are you kidding me?
Pelosi, I guess. I guess.
I mean, she continues to have those little brain. Well.
I watched a tape of her when she was younger. She wasn't any better then.
Wasn't she?
I thought maybe it was because she's getting older.
Old?
She just can't make a complete sentence.
Well, again, it goes to show how scripted they all are so often. When they do put two words together, they're so scripted that I'm sure when she campaigns and everything that everything was well written and she followed and read her speeches and so forth. Because how else could she have gotten elected? But I mean, good grief, just stop it all.
Because they buy their elections. That's how they get elected. They buy them.
Absolutely.
And she's supposed to be the most powerful woman right now because she is the head of the minority group of the Democrat Party. And they've known this stuff was going on. And then they have their slush funds so they can cover up their slutty behavior. and the American people are paying for it. And they're sitting there threatening to shut the government down, which I could care less. It's just a big farce. I'm sorry,
hey, they're not
going to
shut it down to where those idiots in Congress and in the Senate go home. That's what needs to be shut down, not some little, park service, in Montana or someplace. I mean, it's just if you're going to shut the government down, shut down Washington. That's what needs to be shut down. Get them out of there. Send them home early. But no, we got the budget, we got the debt ceiling, and they're just worthless. Absolutely worthless.
And I'm hoping the American people are waking up. I know the ones that listen to us, probably 99% of them, are not clueless. They can see what's going on. They know what's going on. But the thing is, we've got to start taking action. We've got to start putting the pressure on them. President Donald Trump can't do it. He can't. He's doing what he can. But look what the attacks. I mean, they sue him when he's trying to fire somebody. I have that article in here, too. It's like, and the judge quickly said, no, that's not going to happen. No.
That's what I mean. They're all a bunch of
babies. Spoiled rats that want their way. The deep state is so embedded. Well, look what's happening right now. Clinton won't shut up. And it's her fault. Of course, yesterday morning before they knew about the attack, the missile going up, she's lecturing Donald Trump on how he should deal with North Korea. And President Barack Obama is following. Every time President Trump takes a trip, he takes another trip behind him. I think we should have him arrested in one of these other countries.
Well, I mean,
I don't get it. I don't get it. Why doesn't he just go retire? Because they know that the socialistic state is in jeopardy, and they know that. But they've got it so embedded, and it didn't just happen during President Barack Obama's administration. This has been going on through several administrations, both Republican and Democrat, and it is so embedded. That's what I said long ago. You just see these names and these faces and these people, and they may be out of one place. Next thing you know, it's like shuffling a deck of cards. They show up in another spot politically. Nobody's career ever seems to be wounded or hurt. They just keep shuffling them around. That's okay. I know you got in trouble over here. We'll put you over in this department.
Yeah, there's no accountability anymore. I mean, you're just not. Hey, look at the news. Look at the mainstream media. Look at Brian Williams, lying Brian. I mean, he lies. Heck,
and he's still working, isn't he?
And he's still working. Oh, let's go take a few weeks off or a couple of months off. Everybody will forget about it. And you know what? People do, except me. Most people have a very short memories. They move on and they don't remember. And so, so everybody sits there and watches them. And
so mainstream media talks about Donald Trump using the word Pocahontas with Elizabeth Warren, but they ignore the fact that she fraudulently claimed heritage to further her career. They ignore that. Do I think he should have said it? I don't know that he should have said it.
It wasn't the appropriate time to say it.
But nobody...
And he opens the door. And the problem with the media is they didn't focus enough on the real reason that he was even there.
They never did.
And they didn't focus on the...
I watched an interview with Sarah Huckabee, and she kept telling them, why aren't you covering that? The real offense is that Elizabeth Warren fraudulently did this to further her career. She claimed their heritage. She tried to steal their heritage. But this is a descendant of Pocahontas. She said she's not offended by Trump at all.
But this was about
right there
the
because she understands what she did.
This was about the Native Americans, and that's what it should have been focused on. So Trump shouldn't have said what he said, and the media shouldn't take it. Hey, report it and move on. Move on.
But the thing is, I agree with you that I don't know that it was the time or the place to do it. I don't think it was.
It wasn't.
But it was not a racial slur, as
Absolutely
she wants
not.
to claim it was. It might have been if she was really of that heritage, but she lied about it. I wouldn't call it a racial slur. And an actual descendant of Pocahontas said she's not offended. I know that he uses Pocahontas sometimes with Elizabeth Warren. He said, well, does that offend you when I use that? And I told him, no, doesn't offend me.
Well,
they understand what's being done. And,
Stupid.
the Navajo, if it hadn't been for the Navajo, we may not have won that war.
That's true.
We might not have. And that was what should have been the focus. But
Absolutely.
But the mainstream media is always going to go after something, and you're right. He should quit throwing them bones. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. The number to call to join us in conversation. We do have some other things. I want to focus in from Pocahontas to other things that the mainstream media ought to be covering. But the number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And Melody and Beth Ann will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to CSC Talk. I'm sorry. Oh, Melody slapped me. You're listening to Power Talk.
Oh, I don't mean you.
No, I gave the wrong title for the show. You're listening to Power Talk with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
Well, I hope the others were listening. 717-300-1218 is the number to call. So while the mainstream media goes after Donald Trump or Melania for every little thing, they ignore the things that are happening, and we have to rely on these alternative news sources, a conservative news. I really like some of what they have, but they title it one way, and then when you get into it, it's not necessarily the same as the title. But I quit posting there, and I'm going to have advertisements and pop-ups. But this is about a Missourian. The Democrats, it says here, believe in complete transparency by everyone except themselves. In the latest example of Democrats playing hide the ball from the American people, Senator Claire McCaskill, Democrat senator from Missouri, and her private airplane are once again making news. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, the Democrat took action earlier this year to block her private plane from aviation data and aircraft usage. This is a major concern to taxpayers because McCaskill was busted in the past for using taxpayer dollars to fund chartered air travel through a company owned by, guess who? Her husband. So they're not talking about any of this with the Democrats. The mainstream media is ignoring the fact that they are using these slush funds, and they found another slush fund that these guys are using. But they're going to shut the government down because they're not getting their way. Yet they're chasing their interns and pages around the desk, groping and doing all kinds of things at taxpayers' expenses. Airlines, private airlines. Why do they need to fly privately? Claire McCaskill doesn't need a private airline. She can fly the same way everybody else does. I'm tired of these people thinking they're above everybody. You know, I can't even afford to fly somewhere. And she's taking private planes and using my dollars, my tax dollars, to do it. So the Missourians that are listening, we need to get Claire McCaskill out of there. And we need to get that other guy out of there, too. He's been there too long. How long is it that Conroy or whatever his name is, how long has it been that he's been in there? 50-some years, wasn't it?
Oh.
That he's been 50-some years he's been in Congress. How long's Pelosi been there? Schumer been there? McConnell been there? McCain? Lindsey Graham? And some of these others. Presidents come and presidents go. But if you want to know why your taxes are high, you want to know why we have all these departments of alphabet that regulate your lives, your businesses, tax you, fine you, make you pay for permits and licenses, well, you better look at Congress, not necessarily the president. Because Congress seems to stay. Presidents come and presidents go. But Congress stays there, and that is, well, you know, we shouldn't even call them a swamp. A swamp has a certain balance that to keep the people alive. This is more of a swamp, and it's the cesspool's getting to be so nasty that we're seeing them one by one be exposed for what they for women, don't you think?
Well, you know,
Pelosi's concerned. Conyers, you know, he's an icon. He's an icon that's been showing up half naked to meetings.
Well, I mean, you know, it's of all the ones that, you know, you're right. He's been in there over 50 years. Mm-hmm. What the heck is wrong with the people who continue to vote him in? So to be disgraced at the end of his, you know what?
What has that service been?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, what is Pelosi trying to tell me? That he's an icon? He's an icon that votes stuff for tax dollars, but then when he turns around and goes to his office...
I didn't realize he was 88 years old.
Yeah, he can hardly walk up straight.
It's amazing. And then people want to know what's wrong with this country. And people want to know what's wrong with, you know, why we're having the troubles that we're having, and why we're having the globalism and the New World Order being able to succeed as they have succeeded. You know, it really is amazing. And yet people are deaf, dumb, and blind most of the time, and they just... You know, and I get they've been conditioned. I mean, you know, we talk about these problems all the time. You know, we've been conditioned. The sheeple of the country.
We've been conditioned too. I mean, we're just rebels. You know, I had a moment in my life when I finally woke up.
I was always a rebel.
You was always a rebel.
I was always a rebel.
I wasn't. I'm a rebel here. I usually try to walk the straight and narrow, but I remember when my wake-up call happened. I remember exactly when it was, and it was during Waco. Mm-hmm. You know, we watched this and we're thinking, oh, my gosh, these people are terrible. What are they doing? Oh, my gosh, what are they doing? And my daddy walks in. He goes, what is it in this nation that we can't, you know, these people have a religion. He says, they've done nothing wrong. And it was like a light bulb went on. No, they haven't done anything wrong. And then, of course, we watched how they saved the children by burning everyone alive. So that was my wake-up call. I've always loved this nation. I've always, you know, tried to cling to its foundation and the Constitution and to God. But that was my wake-up call when I realized our government was up to no good. And I'm not going to say it's only the Democrat Party. I see their hypocrisy as huge, but the Republican Party, they're just as hypocritical. I mean, look at what they're doing to President Donald Trump. What to the American people who elected him? They're calling him a racist. Well, they're calling anybody who voted for him a racist. He's never done anything or said anything to be a racist. You know, they called him all kinds of things. And, you know, I went off on Charles Barkley earlier this week about his white nationalism. Where do they come up with this stuff? It's just crazy. It's just crazy. I don't have it with me. I had a quote that I was looking at yesterday from one of our founding fathers. He's a black man, and I've got his picture on this book, but I don't have the quote. It's on my other computer. I'll get it when we go to break.
Well,
but he was talking about slavery. He was talking about slavery in it, and that there was more white slaves than there were black slaves. But you don't hear anybody saying that. And this is the black man talking about it. And it's like, I didn't know that. They never taught that to us, Melody. And you don't hear them talk about slavery now. Muslims practice slavery. A lot of other countries still practice slavery, and they don't care what color you are as long as you're a slave. They don't care.
Human trafficking is probably one of the, it is so...
huge problem.
It's huge.
Here,
huge.
In the United States of America.
Everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world.
Yeah, but you think
people
about
are being bought. People are
but...
being bought, sold, and trafficked for sex, for whatever. And but nobody talks about that. Nobody, investigates that. Nobody, because you get killed. That's why you get murdered. But yet they're going to watch.
I believe that a lot of our higher ups are into that.
Oh, the elite, of course.
I believe they are.
Of course. The Saudis, the that part of the world and so forth. Absolutely.
Clinton.
Africa. Absolutely. But you know what? People will pay more attention. People will pay more attention to this one article from the New York Times, and it's Jay-Z. Okay? Yeah. And he's giving his opinion on therapy, politics, marriage, the state of rap, and being a black man in Trump's America. Are you kidding me? Who gives
How has his life changed since Trump took president?
Exactly.
Are you so
kidding
full of
me?
baloney.
It's just
they're going to put Oscar Mayer out of business.
And who is this guy to begin with? He's a rapper, okay? Jay-Z. But yet he's a role model.
Yeah, a filthy
for these kids.
Do you remember when I don't know her name, the President Barack Obama's oldest daughter that went to college, and she had her picture taken with Weinstein? Yeah, that's not been that long ago. Nobody's showing that picture.
Yeah.
It's we're in a mess, and they're not talking about the things that are really happening. We hear it on some of the Fox shows, but even that, they go off on this other. They went off, and of course I did it. I did the same thing and went off talking about the Pocahontas, but the real story there is that very few of our World War II vets are still living, and there was just a couple of the Navajo vets that participated, and without the Navajo language, we might have lost that war, because they were very detrimental to, instrumental in helping this nation, because they couldn't crack the code. They couldn't crack the code. That probably won't happen again, but they couldn't crack the code. And it was an amazing event. I mean, what they did. Without them, we wouldn't have won. I'm just betting that it would have taken a lot more anyway. And so we have all of this corruption, all of this greed, all of these things going on particularly the left. Now, I know the right's involved in it too. I know that many of the Republican parties involved in it. But I saw this article, Melody, is Terry McAuliffe and Tony Rodham are sued over a green card investment scam. Okay, who's Tony Rodham? Well, that's Hillary Clinton's brother. The group of Chinese investors is suing Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe and the brother of Hillary Clinton, saying they were defrauded of $17 million in a cash for green card scam. I guess they gave them these green cards and told them that they would get them connections, politically, and then they didn't come through with it. I don't know how you can sue for that, but they are. And the green cards were to be granted as part of a federal government's EB-5 visa program. And the program grants legal immigration status to foreign nationals who invest at least, doesn't this sound like extortion to you? They've got to invest at least $500,000 in American companies. Companies must meet certain criteria regarding the job creation in order for their investors to qualify for immigration benefits. So 32 Chinese investors say they paid $560,000 apiece in 2012 and 2013 to invest in Green Tech, an electric car company. Well, we know how well that went over, controlled by McCullough and Rodham. McCullough was once the largest investor in the Green Tech, and he left as chairman of the company in 2014 after being elected the governor of Virginia. Well, anyway, this goes on, and the fact is these guys were fraudulent, and nobody's talking about that. They're too busy talking about all the sex scandals and Pocahontas and the fact that President Donald Trump is trying to kill free speech. Have they seen him on Twitter? I don't think he's trying to kill free speech.
Well, I think this thing about, I'm going to go back a little bit to North Korea.
Yes.
I mean, to me, Mathis says that they can now reach any place in the world.
Right.
And I agree with you when you said earlier that I can't imagine that they're not going to do something militarily.
They're going to do something.
They
have to.
They have to. And I think he actually waited until after the President Trump did his Asian tour, even when he was in South Korea. I mean, if North Korea really wanted to, create the war, he might have done something when President Trump was in South Korea. I don't know if our warships have left that area, if some of them have left after the Trump's visit, if they scaled down any of those warships in that area or not. But and it's true. I think North Korea also knows that he really doesn't want to do the main event. Mm-hmm. He's just trying to get the U.S. to do it first, because China has come out and said previously that if the U.S. fired the first missile, they would support North Korea. And so I think that's what would be his game in North Korea, is trying to get us to do something, and this might just have done it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why the U.S., if the U.S. wants China to do to be harder on North Korea, I would think putting sanctions on, but then everybody says sanctions don't work really anyway because they don't do the right ones, I suppose. But doing something to China,
well,
pressure China.
I think they'll have to do something. I think they've left them no recourse, and North Korea is not very bright, but South Korea did something yesterday too. But yeah, we're going to do something because President Trump said we're going to handle it. So he's going to do something.
Yeah.
But what, I don't know. And when you've got General Mattis coming out there and talking that it's serious.
There was also,
he was in the press conference as well.
There was an article by Reuters who talks about China's growing military strength and a resurgent with Russia. And, they're expecting wars. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So it's, this report came out, I guess, on yesterday. It was an interview with NATO and how they see this growing Russia and China challenge and, of course, the higher risk of war. So we have a caller, our favorite foreign correspondent, yes. Ivan, calling us this morning. Good morning, Ivan.
Good morning. Long time no hear from
ladies.
you.
Good morning.
How are you?
How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing, sir?
I have a just comment on this North Korean issue, what you brought up, Melody, and that was that I don't think that China is going to be doing any favors for us, for USA.
No, they're not.
They are first of all, they need a buffer zone, which is North Korea, and they are going to keep it at any cost. And if we do attack, they did indicate a few months back that they are not going to attack if North Korea would attack first. But if somebody else attacks North Korea, that they will support North Korea with all their forces, all their might. And of course, we know that Russia and China have a military pact. If any one of them is attacked, that they'll be supporting each other.
Along with Iran.
Yes.
So is Iran, yeah. And the other thing is that I don't see the economy going. Economy is going to be the trigger, because if the economy goes down, and they expect after Christmas that it will start slipping, and then if economy goes down, then they'll take you to war. So I think that might be the progress, because they need to take your attention away from from your belly and yourself, because you might not have much to eat or be in danger of your life, but they rather have you than they'll take you to war. What happened in 29, after the crash, and I think they started the war in 40. So I mean, it's the same scenario. It's done by the tribesmen or bankers, let's say, and they know what they are. What's good for them is what they are going to do. I mean, we are just meant to be slaughtered, the Christians,
pawns,
in essence.
Pawns in the chess game of life.
That's it, yeah. And we can be the pawns, which can be offered for, as a sacrifice. And
so I don't disagree with you that the bankers, they kind of pull the strings. But do you think they're pulling strings with North Korea, or you think the guy just is fighting?
I think that North Korea itself is he's supported by China, because, like I say, since U.S. has troops in South Korea, and they have they brought in the different missile units to and around Seoul and other parts of South Korea, China feels threatened, okay, because those missiles can hit China also, not just North Korea, because North Korea is not that big, size-wise. So they'll, like I said, they are not going to offer, like they didn't do it in the Korean War. They stepped in. They'll step in again now, or should Trump or whoever decide to hit them one way or the other. Now, that will bring in the Third World War. But like I said, I don't think I think they'll wait until after the holidays. I think let the people, get into the circus, not circus, I don't mean Christmas being circus, but like in Roman times, circus time, and then take their mind away from that, and then attack, then start a war, or conquer, or try to conquer another piece of land. And all these activities which happen in Lebanon, there is Hariri being, who went to Saudi, and then he think it was France and Cyprus, and then back to Lebanon. And then he said that he's reassuming the premiership of Lebanon, because he abdicated it in Saudi when he was in Saudi. He was told that he had to do that. So they wanted to have they want to neutralize Hezbollah, which is a threat to Israel, and they thought by putting his brother on they're in control, because he's more anti-Hezbollah than his older brother now, who is in charge. So it's a conglomeration of things which will eventually come to a boil, and I would say probably before January or rather. Yeah.
Hey, I'm heading into a break now. Do you want to hold on until we get back?
Yeah, I can hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty.
You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. The number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And Melody and Beth Ann and Ivan will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. We're going to go back to Ivan. Ivan, you make some good points. Let's try and wrap it up here on the foreign countries. We know they don't like us very much, but we were talking about Iran.
Right. Iran is a new issue, but they are supported by Russia, of course, and China to some degree, but they are fighting just what really is taking place in Iran is what they learned from Iraq, what happened to Iraq. Because Iraq was attacked under Bush for having weapons of mass
destruction.
Yeah, which was a big joke. That yellow cake they were showing, General Cullen, whatever his name was, and at the UN, and so they are building up a much stronger force than what Saddam had. Saddam saw that that he didn't support any guerrillas or the terrorists because he was against them, and so they pulled the same thing what they were pulling on Syria, that using chemical weapons, everything else, and yet all the chemical weapons were taken out of Syria by Russia. So they are learning from history, so to speak, as to what the West will do if they are not strong enough. So they are building up their forces and support some defense wars against, like Syria against the ISIS, and Iraq against the ISIS, Libya, Hezbollah supported them to some degree, and so on. So Iran, to some degree, is we are trying to tell them they are a terrorist state. Well, they are trying to fight for the underdog, like Yemen, for example. Now you have close to 1 million people who are infected with cholera. Okay, you have many other countries where Syria, for example, which was demolished by bombings and so on, and by executed by ISIS and some other al-Nusra and some other terrorists. So, in essence, that's where they are coming. They learn from history what to expect, and thus they are shoring up their military strength, making military pacts with Russia and China, like I think Melody or you mentioned it, Beth. So anyway, in that respect, they are just trying to. They are not going to attack Persia, which is Iran. Didn't attack anyone for over 350 years as a belligerent against somebody else. They defended themselves, but they never attacked. But so Persia or Iran is just doing to support its own country in order not to get infected by these terrorists. I mean, they are they are almost satanic terrorists. I mean, beheadings and particularly they are killing everyone. I mean, Christians, Muslims, but they don't. So far, they didn't attack Israel at all. So we know where the ISIS support is coming from. Is Israel and Saudi. I mean, they were created by them, and Saudi is paying for it because of the oil. And the question is going to be, and probably Melody might know better as far as the economics, but petrodollar, I think, is on a downslide. And once that goes down, which they expect, from hearing some of the people like Gerald Celente and there are a couple of Jim Willis and some others, but I listen to their programs occasionally, and they did indicate that probably end of the year beginning of next year that dollar will crash, and we'll go into the war mode, So that's what my thing. The other question, which is very interesting, I don't know if you heard, but Obama is traveling the world around for some reason or other. He's kind of shadowing Trump. He went to Africa and other countries, and so is Clinton. I think she went to Europe and some other countries, which is not mentioned in MSM at all.
No.
But she travels. So they are staying in Washington. They are, no other president like Obama was criticizing the sitting president Trump. I'm trying to think what country he was in. This was like last week or a week ago, where he criticized his, his presidency and so on. So, there is an inherent uprising of the swamp, like you were talking about earlier, Beth, that they are still in power, and to me, Republican or Democrat is the same thing, except two sides of one coin.
You got it.
They are all controlled by the same bankers, or whatever you can call them, but they are the puppets to the puppeteers of bankers, and thus it will take enormous strength or to drain a swamp, because it was built up for, I don't know, one of you mentioned 50 years or so, probably since First World War it started, and then during the Second World War, Roosevelt really brought in lawyers from New York and so on, and really infiltrated Washington totally from top to bottom, and since then it was under control, and then just switch parties occasionally to make it, like it's a democracy, which it isn't really. I mean, it's supposed to be a republic according to the Constitution, but that's my point of view on some of the issues from what I see, from my end.
I think we're going to have to watch it play out, but I don't think you're far from wrong with what you've surmised there, Ivan, and I appreciate your call. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan.
My pleasure. You enjoy, ladies. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well, it's all coming down, with the economy, with the war, with the petrodollar, and I mean, you're seeing all these nations, countries positioning, taking sides, increasing their power and their, and I think with what we're seeing with Obama traveling over the seas, Clintons can't use their foundation anymore, but Obama has one now, so he has a foundation, and I think he's drumming up money. And because a lot of these countries also know that, unless there's some behind-the-scenes coup that is going on, and Obama's around the world trying to drum up support from the various countries and so forth, these countries know that Trump is the president now.
Yeah.
And they might give money to Obama, for the future, rule of Democrats out of Washington and so forth, but they know Trump's president, and they know if they need anything to get done and so forth, they're going to have to deal with Trump at least for the next 3 years. So, and I wanted to talk about Bitcoin today. Time just goes by so fast. We have a special 90% quarters, great deal for $345 for $25 face value. They're brilliant uncirculated, but you got to give discount gold and silver a call at 1-800-375-4188. That's 1-800-375-4188. 90% is very important to hold in your portfolio, and we'll also talk about that a little bit
tomorrow. Let's start tomorrow with Bitcoin, so you can get that not out of the way, but you can get that information out. You've been listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann, and we will be back with you tomorrow.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.